Hey guys, welcome to today's video. We're going to be talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers defense and what to expect from them in 2021. Before we get started though, please drop a quick like and a sub on today's video. That would really help my channel grow. I'd really appreciate that. With that said, I hope you enjoy the video and let's dive right into it. Hey guys, so in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers defense in 2021. But before we get started, let's talk about the Steelers defense in 2020. We talk about tackles, we talk about interceptions. We see Minkah Fitzpatrick as both of those leaders. 79 tackles for him, 4 interceptions. He was absolutely phenomenal for them last season. But let's talk about, where they rank defensively among the other teams in the NFL. Ranked number 3 in team defense, I believe, is based off of points. And with that said, let's also see, how they ranked in passing defense. Passing defense, they were really good too. Ranked number 3rd overall in the NFL in that regard. And then rushing defense, that was probably their weakness defensively. They ranked number 11th. But, when you rank a number 11th in run defense, it's not really a weakness. It's something you could definitely get better at. But, when you're in the top 1/3 of the league in a defensive category, you're chilling. You're really chilling. So they were really good at stopping the pass, really good at stopping the run. And overall, they were elite defensively in 2020. But, where does this keep them in 2021? So let's take a look at their depth chart for a second. And let's start with Stephon Tuitt and the guys up front. Tuitt was absolutely phenomenal last year for the Steelers defense. You got to remember him having 11 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, was 8th in the NFL in sacks last season, 33 solo tackles, 45 total. And sure, he's going to be 28 next season, but he's still right in the middle of his prime, and he has been absolutely phenomenal for this Steelers defense. And the thing is, you pair him with a guy like Cam Heyward, and it's just such a scary combination. And Hayward's going to be 32 next year, but he had 4 sacks last year, 1 interception, 30 solo tackles, 54 total tackles. But that's a true 1-2 combo, a true 1-2 punch up front with Tuitt and Cam Heyward as your big pass rushing defense tackles. And you've got Tyson Alualu, who's much more of the run stopper among those guys. But he's that nose tackle for them. But, when you focus about those front 3, you focus on Tuitt and you focus on Cam Heyward just because of the impact that they have on this defense at getting to the quarterback. But if we want to talk about getting to the quarterback, you got to talk about TJ Watt, excuse me. TJ Watt was absolutely dominant last year. Absolutely dominant. Was in the conversation for NFL Defensive Player of the Year. Ended up didn't winning it just because, Aaron Donald had a ridiculous season too. But 43 solo tackles, 53 combined, 15 sacks. 2 forced fumbles, and an interception capped off his season. And he was really productive in 2020. But you got to remember too, they did have the linebacker Bud Dupree for some of the year. Obviously, he ended up getting injured, but without Bud Dupree, I think this does change things a little bit for the Steelers defense. He was another one of those linebackers that could really get after the quarterback, get to the quarterback, and just be punishing as a defender. But in this case, without Bud Dupree anymore, they're gonna have to play Alex Highsmith as that other linebacker to complement with TJ Watt. And I think Highsmith can still put up 5 sacks. I don't think he's gonna be Devin. Why do I keep on thinking that Bud Dupree's Devin Bush? I don't know why I keep on doing that. But I don't think Alex Highsmith is going to be Bud Dupree. But I still think that he can be productive. When you're playing alongside TJ Watt, you're going to get those one-on-one opportunities. And I think Highsmith's good enough to win some of those opportunities. So overall, although he's not, as good as Bud Dupree, and although Bud Dupree was coming off surgery, now he's with the Titans. They're signing a massive deal with him. I just think that, Watt's still going to be productive. I mean, the guy is ridiculous as an athlete. You can see what he does on the football field, the impact he has. But the thing about the Steelers defense that makes it really special is they have got pass rushers from everywhere on the field. And that's another thing. They did end up losing one of their back cornerbacks, Mike Hilton. They ended up losing Mike Hilton. They also lost Steven Nelson. So that's going to also hurt them a little bit defensively in the secondary. But, Mike Hilton was a guy that was able to rush the quarterback as a slot corner. So that's something that hurts. But nonetheless, they've got really good pass rushers. Tuitt can put up 10 sacks. Heyward will bounce back next year with 6 to 7 sacks. TJ Watt, I don't really think he gets 15 sacks again, but maybe 12 and a half. And Highsmith with 5 or so. And then you get Devin Bush back. You have Vince Williams. I think that they could really improve that second middle linebacker position. I don't love Vince Williams there. But Devin Bush, obviously had a big injury last year, missed most of the season, but when he's on, he's on. If you saw him a few years ago, he is so good at just chasing after the football. He's got great sideline to sideline speed, great vision, great knack and instinct for the football, and just he likes to get after the football. It's really that simple. He's got just an absolute passion for being a disruptor and disruptive, and I think those assets are really going to be influential and key for the Steelers team moving forward, especially on the defensive side of the football. He's a leader for them, and he's going to give them a much needed boost and a much needed just boost of confidence in the heart of that defense. So, when you look at the linebackers, you really see TJ Watt, you really see Devin Bush. I don't really get excited by Vince Williams, to be honest, but where this defense is going to make its money is going to be in the secondary. And I did say that they did lose Steven Nelson, who was their true number 2 corner last year, and Mike Hilton, who was their number 3 corner last year. But they still have Joe Haden, who, although he's getting up there in age, he's still a good corner in the NFL. He's still a top 20 corner in the NFL. Had a really good season for them last year. And at the end of the day, I mean, Haden is not going to get any better anytime soon just because of his age, and you don't see corners really get better as they age. But I think the Steelers team and Steelers defense is going to regress next year. They're going to regress next year. They're missing too many guys from seasons prior for them to play better. When you lose your number 2 and number 3 best corner and you replace him with Cameron Sutton, who was already on the roster, but you play Cameron Sutton as your number 2 corner, I think that's going to hurt you. And then you've got some older guys like Cameron Heyward and Joe Haden who are getting up there in age. I think once again that age and that's going to be a concern for them. But this is still a top 10 defense in the NFL, and just that's because how they're coached. They're coached to be feisty and to really like to blitz the quarterback and bring the heat and bring the pressure and play strong zone/man defense. That's what this team's going to do. Joe Haden as a number 1 corner is going to be fine. He's not going to be shut down, but he's going to get the job done. And then Cameron Sutton, I think, as a number 2 corner, is going to be exposed at times. I don't think he's quite good enough in this part of his career yet to truly be a number 2 corner. But when you look at the safeties, Minkah Fitzpatrick was arguably the best safety in all of football last year. Maybe him or Bud Baker. But Fitzpatrick has the ability to get his hands on every ball. He's a playmaking presence in the back end of the defense. He's a ball hawk. He's got a knack and an instinct for finding the football and to getting the football. But more importantly, Terrell Edmunds, too, I thought. He's been a strong safety for them for a little bit. There has been some talk. This is recorded way early in the offseason, just letting you know that this is before the Steelers may or may not have signed Malik Hooker. There was some talk about it earlier in the offseason. He, I think, could bring a lot to this defense, too. I think obviously his skill set being a former first-round pick by the Indianapolis Colts, he's a solid safety that can be versatile as a run stopper, but more importantly, as a pass guy. So I think him and Fitzpatrick could work well together. I think he just adds a little bit more depth and a little bit more playmaking talent and a little bit more just talent in general to the Steelers defense. But when we look at the Steelers defense, really what's going to happen next year? And the truth is they're going to get a lot of sacks. Tuitt, Heyward, TJ Watt, Devin Bush, Alex Highsmith. Those are guys that can get to the quarterback a little bit. So I think that, sacking the quarterback and getting to the quarterback will not be an issue. Also, picking up Quincy Roche in the draft out of the University of Miami, he was a guy that I thought could do a really big, do some damage in the NFL. So I like him too as a backup outside linebacker. And then, the secondary wise, I think Joe Haden will be fine. I think he'll regress a little bit, but really not having Mike Hilton, not having Steven Nelson, those things are going to hurt. But for me, it's, how can this defense rally? And they've always rallied. For me, they've got enough playmaking presence on this team to be a top 10 defense. Are they going to be that elite defense again? I think that they've got that high-end talent to possibly do it if, TJ Watt goes off and Devin Bush goes off and Joe Haden has like 5 interceptions and Minkah Fitzpatrick, continues playing like he's been playing. But they've got really elite players all over this field. It's really just how can they fill in the gaps? How can they replace Steven Nelson? How can they replace Mike Hilton? Are there guys that can fill those roles? Are there bench players? Are there practice players? Is Cameron Sutton good enough to fill that role? Those will be the questions for me. So with that said, there are some question marks for me. How can they rebound after losing, some of their better players over the past few seasons, guys like Mike Hilton, Steven Nelson, and Bud Dupree? How can they rebound from that? But I think that a part of the Steelers defense is that it's a system. It's not just a one player at a position kind of defense. It's a system that runs based off of the players that are in place. So I think that the Mike Tomlin and the Steelers defense will be able to get the most out of the players they have. That's something that they've always done, something that they've always been known for and known to do. So with that said, I still am confident in the Steelers defense to be a top 10 defense in the NFL. I just think they're players that are getting up there in age, like Joe Haden and Cameron Heyward, who are a little bit on the older side, especially at their positions, to be super effective anymore. that might see a little bit of downturn for the Steelers defense. But nonetheless, I still think that they're going to be a top 10 defense in 2021. And with that said, that's pretty much going to end the video for today. Did you agree with my analysis? Why or why not? Leave your comments and thoughts in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Also, if you're new around here, please drop a like and a sub on today's video. I'd really appreciate that. And with that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. And until next time, see ya.